I started my career in immigration enforcement in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent. I've worked for 6 presidents, up to Donald Trump. Every president I've ever worked for took some steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. But President Biden is the first president in the history of this nation that I know of who came in office and unsecured the border on purpose. And even President Obama gave me the Presidential Rank Award, highest award available. Because what was I doing at the time? I was locating and deporting people that are in the country illegally. We handed this administration the most secure border in my lifetime. And within months, we went from the most secure border to historic illegal immigration, numbers we've never seen before. And it's not because it's seasonal, it's not because of climate change, it's not because of Trump. This is by design. I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election. I said, President Biden becomes president, we'll lose the border, based on the promises he was making during the campaign. And he's kept those promises. Right now, we have record numbers of illegal aliens coming across the border. Catch and release is rampant. Right now, Secretary Mayorkas already said 85% of everybody coming to the border is being released in the country. They're not being detained. And why are they being detained? Because of 2 reasons. Number one, because he knows, like I do, that vast majority of these people will be ordered removed 5, 6, 7 years down the road, maybe 10. He also knows the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report says if you get an order removal and you're in an ICE bed, you get removed 99% of the time. But if you're not in detention, your chances of being removed are slim. If you're a family unit, it's about 6%. I've been attacked numerous times because I worked with President Trump. They said our policy is inhumane. I've been called a racist and a bigot by members of Congress. But let's get one thing straight. Under President Trump, illegal immigration went to a 45-year low, 83% decline in illegal immigration. There's been several studies saying 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get sexually assaulted. So let me ask you a question. I'll make a point. When 83% less people are coming, how many migrants didn't die crossing the border when 83% less were coming? How many people didn't die? How many people off the terror screening database didn't try to come to the country? Because Border Patrol's 100% vigilant on the line and now overwhelmed. How many women and children didn't get sex trafficking to the United States? Forced into sex slavery, forced labor, debt bondage. How many billions did the criminal cartels not make? Under President Biden, where they call this humane, over 1,700 migrants have died on U.S. soil. Historic record, not counting the Darien Gap in Mexico and Central America. 112,000 Americans dying from fentanyl. Historical increase in sex trafficking, forced labor, and debt bondage. Almost 100,000 missing kids that were released by ORR. 440,000 unaccompanied children entered the country through the service of the cartels. Someone needs to explain to me how that's humane, any of this stuff. And a record number of people off the terrorist watch list being arrested. 1.9 million gotaways. That statement alone should convince anybody on either side, 1.9 million gotaways, the border is not secure. It's ridiculous to claim so.
Since it has not yet been done, I think it's important to really make sure that the jingoistic, bigoted testimony of Mr. Homan is called out as nearly completely untrue, as being an outrage, and as a former official directing the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, he should know better. So,
Mr.
making
Chairman,
sure that I am...
Mr. Chairman.
No, this is my 5 minutes.
Well,
The word-
what did I say was inaccurate?
Excuse me.
okay,
I'm not asking a question.
Okay,
or-
the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes. She's made her point, and I will try to resolve any other issues at the end of her questioning. Okay.
Thank you. So I just think it's important that it's not accepted as accurate testimony.
I forgot more about this issue than you ever know. So if you say my testimony is inaccurate, it's wrong. Everything I said here is accurate. Bottom line, if you want to go toe-to-toe, I'm here. I'm here in my own time to speak to the American people about what's false
I'm
and
sure
what's
happy
fact.
to go toe-to-toe with you, Mr. Homan.
Well,
happy
I'm
to do
here.
that any day.
But you got to let me respond to your question rather than
I didn't
dropping a
ask you a
bomb and
question.
running away.
It was my time.
So
and I
there's a
wasn't
crisis.
asking.
Let's not forget, 440,000 children enter this country through the use of criminal cartels in the hands of criminal organizations that self-separated from their families because of policies of this administration. We've also, this administration's lost track between 85,000 and 100,000 children that were released to so-called sponsors that we can't find. They have no idea who they are, if they're in danger, who's taking care of them, and what they're doing. But we do know this. There's been many investigations where children were found in meatpacking plants, cleaning up entrails on a midnight shift, forced labor. So I want to mention that. And the biggest thing about the border, when you cause a crisis this big, when you make promises, you can enter the country legally, you'll be released quickly, because this administration's not enforcing the law. The only thing they've done is send more resources to the border to process quicker and release quicker, because they care about the optics. When you do that, more are going to come. So when they overwhelm the border patrol, I can tell you right now, in the last several months, there's been times where there's certain sectors on the southwest border where 100% of border patrol agents were pulled off patrol to come in and process. When you do that, the criminal cartels have a field day. They know if there's, on average, less than half the border patrol's on patrol, sometimes 70, 90%. So what they do, they'll send a big group of people through one area, 200 family groups, knowing that whatever's left on the border is going to seize to that opportunity for the humanitarian crisis, because a lot of these people are in bad shape. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of miles of border empty. So what they have done is overwhelm the patrol. So I've had border patrol agents tell me they've used the term broken arrow. When they're off the line, they're frustrated because they don't know what's coming through the parts of the border where there's no agents, because they're all busy making meals, making hospital transports, making baby formula, taking care of these humanitarian issues. That's the issue. They've created the biggest national security crisis I've seen since 9/11, because we got 1.9 million gotaways. So I don't care what, everybody can talk about the data all you want. 1.9 million known people have entered this country. We don't know who they are, where they're from, or why they came here. But I'll tell you this, they've arrested people from 181 different countries. Some of these countries sponsor terror. They've arrested over 300. If you don't think a single one of that 1.9 million didn't come here to do us harm, then you're ignorant to the data. A few days in office, President Biden signed over 90 executive orders abolishing all the policies that were proven effective based on numbers. Anybody can go to cbp.gov and look at the numbers. But I want to address one thing real quick.
Sure.
I'm sick and tired of people in Congress talking about xenophobic and racist policy of the Trump administration. We enforce the law. If I'm a racist, what's that make Congress? They wrote the law. We're not making this up. We're enforcing laws enacted by Congress. Second of all, about the family separation thing, because talking about tearing babies out of mothers' arms. I'm the only one in this room who's been on that border. I'm the only one that's interviewed girls as young as 9 years old, been raped multiple times. You look in their eyes and they're dead. Their souls are gone. They have every ounce of what they think is humanity is gone, because they were raped numerous times by criminal cartel members. I stood in back to a tractor trailer with 19 dead migrants at my feet, including a 5-year-old little boy. I've seen many dead bodies on the border. I've been down there numerous times this past year where border patrol are giving CPR to an infant child 6 months old. I've seen border patrol agents, heroes, patriots, who jump in the river with 60 pounds of gear on, put their lives on the line to save lives. What the whole thing about zero tolerance was to save lives. Maybe if we prosecuted people, they stop bringing their children through that process. Maybe less people will die. Maybe less women will get sexually assaulted. That was the reason. It wasn't to tear babies out of mothers' arms to prove a point and not reunite them to make it cruel. That wasn't the purpose of the law. And there was nobody that saw that we aren't going to reunite them. We're just going to call this a terrible policy. That's a false statement. That's a lie. I was there. I was involved. Don't say that we had no intention of reuniting these families. It's ridiculous. The largest illegal immigration crisis on the border is going to have to result in the largest deportation operation, because most of them will get order removal.
I'm just using your words. You stand by that?
Yes, absolutely.
What is that? Does that mean that you're telling the American public? I'm just trying to understand. If they're 10, 11, 12 million undocumented, I don't know, how many do you think that any one of those folks, if you're in charge, is going to face potential deportation?
I think if you're in the country illegally, you need to be concerned, because you're in the country illegally.
So you're telling basically any American today, or any undocumented person here today, 11 million, that your goal, if you get power again, is you're going to lead the largest mass deportation of all of them, correct?
The biggest illegal alien crisis on the southern border. Millions of people crossing. No, you got to put it in perspective. If you believe in due process and they have the right to claim asylum, they have the right to due process and see a court, when those final orders are issued, if they're not executed, then what the hell are we doing?
I just want people to know what happens if you come into power. You've been pretty candid about it, and
yes.
So I think it's important for people to understand.
What do you know about trigonometry? I could care less about trigonometry. Bender, did you know without trigonometry there'd be no engineering? Without lamps, there'd be no light.
And I tell you what, Washington Post can do all the stories they wanted me about. Tom Homan's deport people is really good at it. They ain't seen shit yet. Wait till 2025.
Very good. Thank you.